Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild is one of the most successful games on the Switch. It has eclipsed all previous Zelda titles in sales and is widely considered by critics and fans to be one of the greatest games ever made. So it's no doubt that when it was confirmed a Breath of the Wild sequel was dropped, the Nintendo fanbase was ecstatic. However, since then we haven't really had much to go on, partly because of the pandemic and because Nintendo have kept a pretty tight lid on any details. They haven't even given us a proper name yet, as they would say it will reveal too much about the game. So in this video, we're going to try and compile everything we know about Breath of the Wild 2. Before we do that, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to support the channel, and remember to leave a comment to let me know what you guys think. There's been a lot of speculation surrounding the two trailers about the sequel, so I thought it'd be best to analyse what we can gather from what little they've given us. In the E3 2019 teaser trailer, we see a bunch of green markings show up on the screen. This looks to be the magic we saw with the ancient armor and weapons that we saw in the first game. These markings come out of Ganon's chest surrounded by red mist, which we know is the Malice. Zelda and Link are then seen carrying torches in some underground dungeon or cavern. This is likely to be underneath Hyrule Castle, or another sleeping chamber alike to the one Link woke up in Breath of the Wild. We also see some wall paintings which seem to be depicting Ganondorf holding his famed trident. This probably tells the story of his resurrection or the havoc that he wreaked, similar to how they introed in Wind Waker. In this shot we see Link and Zelda looking slightly different as Zelda's hair has changed, but we know that Link has the Master Sword here. We notice the Malice engulfed the rat, and then we see a bridge, potentially a lost city or maybe a part of Hyrule that got engulfed by darkness. We then see the spiraling green hand suppressing what we assume to be Ganon, and failing to stop the evil from leaking out as we notice the Malice slowly leaving the body. Here we see a series of shots which come very quickly, but if we slow it down, we notice Link reacting to the glowing hand, which could mean he has released the seal, which makes sense in the next scene as the Malice shoots up towards the cavern. We also see two hands grabbing to hold on, presumably Zelda and Link, which could mean that they get separated yet again in this installment. We then see what looks like an entrance to a dungeon of sorts, which could mean we see the commonplace dungeons make a real return to the Zelda franchise, after which the green hand grabs Link, which seems to have released the seal, and it quickly shows a shadow of Ganondorf being risen again and the hand released. This hand potentially gives Link some new abilities which we will get onto in the second trailer. Zelda falls and is left with Ganondorf, much to her terror as he very freakishly opens his eyes and turns towards her. This then cuts to a landscape shot of Hyrule Castle being risen to the sky, which leads us onto the next trailer where they delve a bit deeper into the game. At this point, it had been 2 years since the teaser trailer saying the game was in development, and fans were understandably gnashing at the teeth for any form of information. In the latest trailer, we see the same Malice, but this time we see a quick shot of it taking over Link's arm. We also see Ganon fully resurrected, and Zelda falling down a pit, which cements the fact that Zelda and Link probably got separated. It then cuts to Link falling in midair with an entirely different look, and what looks to be his new weapon / accessory on his right hand. Link is wearing half a tunic and a belt with some sandals in some kind of toga looking outfit, very different to the Champion's tunic that we're used to seeing him in. We then see Link in a new fit wearing winter boots with a new glider and a different shield as he is travelling between floating islands. It's possible this could be similar to Skyward Sword and how we travel in that universe, but with a lot more freedom. This also leads us to wonder how this fits in the Zelda timeline, if at all. And as we all know, the Zelda timeline leaves much to be desired and is not straightforward or clear by any means. So maybe it's best if it is its own entity. Behind one of the clouds we notice a structure which we can't quite make out, but it looks to be some kind of gate or a massive temple entrance. We now see Link running through some grass next to ruins to his right and some more floating islands. And at the end we notice a similar structure to what we saw in the last scene. Now the next couple of scenes is intriguing. We first see a new boss to fight with that has the Sheikah Sable attached to it, and then we see Link gliding again across some bokoblins perched on a stone pebblet. It seems clear that skies and flying have a big emphasis in this game, but what's interesting is in this scene we don't see any floating clouds, it just looks like Hyrule that we know from the first game. So how do we get to these floating islands? Unfortunately this is not clear and we'd have to wait until the next trailer for anything concrete. We then get another shot of what I'm dubbing the Sheikah Gauntlet, which I imagine will replace the Sheikah Slate in the first game. What's important here is that Link is canonically left-handed, even though in Breath of the Wild he is seen using his right hand. This could mean this isn't just a gauntlet and that it isn't Link's hand at all, and is being possessed by some kind of spirit in order to complete a task, which would be very Zelda-esque. We see a new rune ability allowing Link to reverse the time of a moving object, and you can see from the after images how far back in time you can go, in a similar way to the stasis ability in the first game. We also see Link using a flamethrower sort of weapon. However, it's on his left hand, so this doesn't seem to be an ability from the gauntlet, and probably an additional handheld weapon you can carry around with you. It has this dragon shape to it and it's used in his shield hand, so possibly it allows Link to go double offensive in a Bloodborne-esque kind of fashion. We see again late in the trailer a droplet of water goes in a reverse, which is a use of the ability which we saw previously. This then cuts to Link using another ability to somehow pass through this rock and pull himself out of the other side. No doubt another ability courtesy of the gauntlet, and this could be one of the ways in which Link travels to the Sky Islands. In the distance we can also see the same rock formations we saw earlier in the trailer. It's also around this time but the music in the trailer gets very distorted. Though, fun fact, the music in this trailer is the original Breath of the Wild theme, only backwards. Now we cut to a scene of Hyrule rising to the skies and breaking apart. I liked what we saw at the end of the first trailer. The malice in the ground seems to be growing wilder and more powerful and seemingly taking over Hyrule, which seems to be a similar deal to what we saw in the first game, warning players that Hyrule is heavily guarded and dangerous. The trailer then fades to show a 2022 release date. Now many have theorized about this date. Pierre Schneider from IGN even stated that he had heard of a November 2022 release in the works.
I think that will probably change next November when we're playing Breath of the Wild 2.
Which holds more merit seeing as we heard nothing of the sequel in the latest Nintendo Direct, which is only for titles releasing in the first half of the year, meaning we won't expect any news on the game until the summer. We know that Eiji Onoma will be working on the game again, and he said he desires to return to the Hyrule of the first game with new gameplay and story. He also said this entry in the series would be a lot darker than the first game, closer to Majora's Mask, but not dark like how Twilight Princess tried to be dark by just turning down the exposure. Other than that, there isn't a whole lot that we definitely know about the game other than mere speculation. Fans have surmised we could have a co-op game or finally get the chance to play as Zelda in some way, and Eiji Onoma did dodge the idea of co-op when interviewed back in 2019. Or perhaps there are two Links, or a Link in the past and one in the future. And as we well know, the Zelda franchise isn't averse to adding time travel to their titles. However, as it stands, we have no choice but to wait until we see the next trailer, until we get some confirmed details on the sequel to Breath of the Wild. And that's about all we know. Make sure to like the video and subscribe to help support the channel. Also don't forget to leave a comment to let me know what you guys think of Breath of the Wild 2. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.